Thanks for joining our Aggregator Subcontractor Management breakout session. Target audience, by the way, for this session is suppliers with 10 or more subcontractors. So just if you don't fall into that category, I maybe suggest attending a different breakout session. This is very focused on contractors with 10 or more subcontractors working at Amazon locations. So before we kind of get into the content, just wanted to describe the agenda that we have. So first of all, we're going to have Scott kick it off with a presentation on the subcontractor management. Second, he's going to go through a live demonstration. And then third, we are going to do a Q&A. So if you could please, as you think of questions, post them in the chat room. And then we'll answer those at the end, just not during the presentation. So anyhow, my name is Amy Heidela. You guys probably, if you were in the last breakout session, you were introduced to me. If you also were watching the main event as well, I had a few presentations in there, but I'm a workplace health and safety contractor field manager, which is a mouthful. Here at Amazon, I work with Justin Smith, Nestor Benavides, and Ryan Rouse as part of the contractor safety program, essentially. Scott Arthurs is kind of our main guy at Amazon that we partner with for Avetta. So I'll let Scott introduce himself.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, Scott Arthurs. I'm a Global Strategic Account Manager here at Avetta. I've been with Avetta for about 5 years, but in the contractor pre-qualification space for coming on 12 years, so I kind of get it. I've also been working with the Amazon account since the early days, introduced Avetta to them. We've been through a bunch of pilots and sort of started to expand from there, and we sort of went full steam with operational sites in the US beginning of last year, and it's kind of evolving from there as we go, push out geographically and across business units and all that kind of stuff. So it's a massive account. We've got lots of stuff going on, but it's super exciting, and yeah, looking forward to taking you through today's session. So specifically, I'll just start at the top and take you through what Amazon's doing and why we're doing it, and then sort of really drill down into what we need to be doing as general contractors or aggregators and what that actually means. And then I'll show you what it looks like in the system as well. So Amazon has implemented Avetta to manage contractor pre-qualification. You should get that by now. Why did they do it? I mean, it really streamlines and simplifies the pre-qualification process for all contractors. If we think about what was happening or should have been happening at Amazon sites prior to Avetta, a contractor would turn up at a site and they had to fill out a bunch of paperwork. But some of our larger contractors, they might be working across 200, 300, 400 sites. So they're going to have to go through this paperwork over and over again. So it was really a cumbersome thing. There was also no sort of upward reporting, very little transparency, all of those sorts of things. So by rolling out Avetta, a contractor can pre-qualify just once, and as long as you meet all of the pre-qualification requirements, then you're then pre-qualified across all Amazon locations. There's a couple of minor variances there if you're on construction, sort of pre-construction versus operational sites. There's a few minor differences in some of the responses or questions that you're going to be asked, those sorts of things, but it's all in one location. Because of this, Amazon can then really target on some of the exceptions, maybe some bad performers in terms of safety or whatever, and really just, the intent and the outcome is improved safety performance for Amazon and all of Amazon's contractors. So the focus today really is on aggregators and general contractors. Now, effectively, it's the same thing from a configuration standpoint. What it means is that within Avetta, there's really two sides of the coin. You've got a client and you've got a supplier, right? And Avetta sort of mixes the two together. A general contractor or an aggregator account is effectively an account in the client side of the business. So Amazon's got a whole hierarchy with all the different sites built up and all the different business units and all the different geographies. Within there, there's the whole hierarchy for general contractors and aggregators. And you, as a general contractor, are set up with basically a client account in that side of the business. From there, you can then register and manage all of your subcontractors, and then you can see all of the pre-qualification status of all of your subcontractors. You can see if any of them are non-compliant, and then if they're non-compliant, why they're non-compliant. And basically you'll see the same stuff that Amazon gets to see as well, but it's really your ship and you get to control it. We're really targeting, any GC or aggregator that's using 10 or more subcontractors. If you've got less than 10 contractors or subcontractors, we can still work with you. But, in terms of the effort involved in configuration, training, support, and all of that stuff, it really it becomes more of a burden to have this kind of account. If you've only got 1 or 2 subcontractors, just get them to directly register with Avetta and don't worry about sort of the management of them per se. If you've got lots though, you definitely want to have an account like this. So if you need an account and you don't have one already, reach out to me. There's my contact details right there. So it's sarthurs@avetta.com. Let me know who you are, that you need a GC or an aggregator account set up, and then we'll start that dialogue. I'll get some more information from you. I've got a team of people that'll get that configured. It takes normally 2 to 3 weeks to get the site set up. Then we'll take you through like a training exercise, and then we'll help you with the whole onboarding of subcontractors and take you through the process. So we've done this hundreds of times, so it's quite a slick process. By the time the configuration is done, I guess the next stage is onboarding your subcontractors. What does that look like? We'll do a launch for you. So we've got a whole team of people there. We will have a communication, like a letter that'll go out to all of your subcontractors. It'll look something like the one on the screen right there. And it'll have links for them to FAQ, landing pages and things like that. It'll answer all of their questions, and there's a registration process. It'll also notify the Avetta team. So we've got a whole team dedicated to helping suppliers register and go through that pre-qualification process. So when we do the launch, my team will then start reaching out to your suppliers and helping them go through the process. There is a subscription fee. It's based on the size of the company. So a lot of rebate, I guess. A lot of incentive was put in place for Amazon for us to sort of make this a lot easier for smaller suppliers. Amazon really wants to support the small suppliers. So if one of your subs has got 10 employees or less, this whole process is completely free. If the subcontractor's got 11 to 20 employees, the annual fee is $350 US. If it's a larger company, then it's $817, but we've still got other fees that are normal, that have been waived just because you're in the Amazon network. I'm just quoting the US fees. I know that we've got some Canadian and some Mexican folks in the invite list today, so I'm not sure exactly what those fees translate to, but the same kind of free versus, and sort of tiered approach applies in all regions. In terms of the process for getting compliant, once registered, the subcontractors will need to work through the pre-qualification process. It's basically a process of answering questions. It'll assign a bunch of forms to them. They'll answer the questions. They'll upload, where necessary, supporting documents. Once they've completed that process, Avetta have got multiple teams that will go through and review that stuff. So we've got compliance specialists that are going to be checking their OSHA logs and things and making sure that everything's accurate and complete. We've got insurance specialists that are going to be reviewing COIs and making sure that meets Amazon requirements. And we've got safety professionals that are going to be looking at safety manuals and things and making sure that they're up to scratch there. If they're not, by the way, the safety professionals will work directly with your subcontractors, identify what the gaps are, and help them plug those gaps. The intent is that we're sort of elevating them. We're not trying to disqualify anybody. We're trying to make them better so that they meet Amazon's requirements. We're allowing 4 weeks or thereabouts to submit, once you've registered, to submit that paperwork. It does take a little bit of time for a vetter to go through and vet that stuff as well. And especially if there's any gaps, there's a bit of time in terms of us letting you know what the gaps are, then providing additional documentation, us reviewing it again. So it's kind of circular. So we need a little bit of time to be able to work through that process. In terms of useful links, I did mention that we have a help page. So we've got a couple of them. This is for the operational side. We've also got one for construction. I won't take you to the page itself, but this is basically what it looks like. It's got some registration pages there. It's got a bit of a step through on the process and how they would work through there. It's got frequently asked questions. So I mentioned we did a couple of pilots with Amazon. When we went through that process, all of the questions from all of the suppliers kind of got filtered down and helped us develop this tool. So this is available as a resource that would go out as part of that registration process to get your subs into the system. There's even videos on how to register and so on. Okay, at this point, I'm going to jump into the system and show you what it looks like from your side as a GC or an aggregator and how the system works. It's pretty simple. It's designed to be fairly user intuitive. So right now I've logged in as a fictitious aggregator called Tesla Automation Systems. The naming protocol is kind of important. So every aggregator account will have Amazon US as a prefix and then the name of your company. So Amazon US Tesla Automation Systems. Some of you, if you're in construction, you may have 2 accounts. One of them will be in the construction side of the shop, and the other one will be the operational side of the business. So if you've got subs on construction sites, they will be in one site, and if you've got subs that are in operational businesses, they'll be on the other side. Now, a subcontractor can be connected to multiple points through the Amazon hierarchy. They only get billed once. All that connection is doing is adding any additional and compliance requirements. It might be an additional line item that they need to complete. So, for example, if you're in the construction side and then you add the operational side of the business as a linkage, it's going to add those Amazon special safety conditions that Ryan was talking about earlier in the session. So right now, I can see that I've only got one connection tied to me, and the connection is this contractor here called Aggregator LLC. Aggregator actually uses our own products, so we're both a supplier and a client within the system. So typically you would have a lot more than just one. This is just a sort of a demo for you. And you'll be able to hyperlink quickly to any that are non-compliant, so you could drill down and have a look at why. The first thing I'll do is actually jump into the account and sort of poke around and show you what it looks like when you're looking at a supplier. There's a bunch of tabs here. Really, the only ones you need to focus on are this flag details and compliance. They're probably the 2 main ones that you need to look at. Flag details will show you if they're not compliant. If any of these flag items here were red, they'd float to the top of the list. But any reds here will give you a red overall compliance status. So they're going to be the ones that you need to focus on first. Underneath red, there would be some orange triangle options, and that means they're conditionally compliant. So you can get on site for the time being, but it's something that needs to be addressed. Okay, so they would also float to the top. Aggregator is fully compliant, so you can see that we're meeting all of Amazon's requirements. If you come across to the compliance tab, you can see that it's broken down into any elements that are awaiting supplier submission, anything that's waiting for a vetter to review, or anything that's been complete. So right now it looks like, although a vetter is compliant with Amazon's requirements, there's still a couple of things that we need to, a couple of forms that we need to complete, just that these forms aren't driving us to be non-compliant at this point. When somebody submits a form, that would then drop into the awaiting a vetter verification, and that's when our teams look at each of those elements and review them, and they'll either be marked as being complete, or they'll be rejected with a reason for the rejection, and then that goes back into the supplier's task list of things that they need to review and fix. That's pretty much it from a supplier perspective. You can, if you want, drill into any of these to look at some specific detail. So, for example, we've got a COVID-19 pandemic form here. It's got a little paperclip. So I can see that when you hit the paperclip, it'll show the document that's been uploaded, or you can click into the form and it'll list, some of them have got lists of questions and then all of the responses that they've got in there. So you really can drill down into the details when you're looking at a supplier. I think, though, to start the process, what we're really looking at is getting your suppliers into the system. So you'll probably spend a lot of time in this tab over here on the left, which is the network tab. When you first come in here, there are a few tabs across the top. The first one is My Network. So this will show you all of the suppliers that are currently tied to you. From here, you can filter the list if you want to look at just those that are non-compliant, for example. The system's pretty cool. It's got a built-in messaging system here. So once you've filtered your list, you can send a message to all of your suppliers direct from the system, and that'll send them an email with whatever content you've written. And it might be, please update your system or whatever. Now, if your suppliers aren't in here, you can come across to this Find Suppliers tab. So a vetter has got more than, we've got about 600 corporate clients now and about 120,000 suppliers in the system. So if you're looking for a supplier, you've got existing suppliers or you want a new supplier, a vetter is actually going to be a really powerful tool for you to find somebody to meet your requirements. So for example, you can search based on map and geography. You can search for specific trades. Or you can search for a specific company name. So in this scenario, I'm going to be looking for another supplier that I want connected to me. It's Estefan Telecom or one of these guys. So Estefan's test account right here is another account that I'm going to connect to. So when you do a search by name, it'll bring up anybody with that name over on your right-hand side. If it's the supplier that is your subcontractor and you know that it's them, you can just go ahead and hit the connect button. If you're not sure, you can click on the name here, and that'll give you a little bit more information, right? So it'll give you their email address, their phone number. Typically there you'll figure out whether it's the right supplier or not, or could be one of the other Estefans that are in the system. Also, if you're looking for a new sub, right, you can use this system to then reach out to Estefan and say, hey, I need you to do some steel erecting or whatever, give me some quotes. You can sort of work through that process and then know that they're already in a vetter, and all you have to do really to get them to into the system is to hit this connect button. So I'm going to do that right now. It's as simple as that. If I was then to go back to my home screen, you'll see that they've just connected here. If I refresh, because it's still saying 1 there, I'll refresh this. Now I've got 2, and I can see his non-compliant. And as I mentioned before, you can then dive in here and have a look at why he's non-compliant, right? And really, he's got a bunch of work. It's just paperwork items that he needs to get in there and fix. Okay, going back to the network tab. So I've taken you through my network. These are all of the suppliers that are currently connected to you, right? So now I've got 2 suppliers. I've shown you how to find suppliers that are within the Avetta network but not yet connected to you. The other option then is, okay, I need a subcontractor into the system, but they're not in Avetta yet. So it's going to be new to the process. So this next tab over is Supplier Request. And it's pretty basic, right? You fill out a form. When you fill out this information, it populates this email over on the right-hand side. That would then ungrade a send button. When you hit the send button, that's going to send an email to that supplier saying, hey, we need you to register with Avetta to come onto the Amazon SNA 6 site or whatever it is. It'll also notify the Avetta team, so they'll start making phone calls and reaching out to that subcontractor and helping them through that registration process. So, there are a couple of other tabs here. I wouldn't worry about those. Really, the focus should be on getting the suppliers into your network and then getting them compliant. So that's all I wanted to take you through from a system demonstration perspective. And I guess we down to the questions side of things. Amy, did you have anything you wanted to add before we get into the Q&A?
No, let's jump in. Thank you. Hi, Michael.
Hi, good afternoon. Alrighty, so first question we have is, what if we are already set up with Avetta through another mutual client? Do we have to pay for a separate fee to provide service to Amazon locations?
Yeah, good question. So every client that you connect to, there is a connection fee, yes. But Amazon is a massive hierarchy of clients. So we've got 700 individual sites built out. We've got all the business units built out. We've got all the aggregator accounts built out. If you're in one country, like the US, you can connect like 20 times and it's only one fee. But if you collect to another client as well, like CBRE or JLL or somebody else, then there is an additional connection fee. It's typically around the $500 per client connection is the average connection fee.
Alrighty, Gary Maidens asks, they're building a warehouse in Alberta and acting as the general contractor. So going to be having 50 to 100 subcontractors as they build the new building. They'll be using Avetta and our trades will fall under us. This would change when we turn over the building?
Right. So right now, if you've got subcontractors in construction that work in steel erection or electrical or an electrical contractor, then we would set you up with those subcontractors on the construction side of the business. They're the only types of contractors you need to get in the system at the moment. I mean, that's probably going to change next year, but right now that's the focus. Operational side of the business, though, that's different. If any subcontractor that's coming onto site in an operational Amazon site needs to be brought in through this process. Does that answer the question? I hope so.
Yeah, I think I'll answer it. If you think about it, right, when we say, think of it as post day one, post go live, Amazon controlled areas, right? So once associates come in the building, et cetera, and like, let's say you're still in your construction area, okay, but now you have a crew that needs to come back into an area already handed off to do a repair. Well, Amazon owns kind of the safety of the building at that point, and so we want to ensure that those pre-qualification items are met per our normal operational guidance for our contractors. So that's kind of our delineation. But right now, in the construction area, Scott kind of also already gave those requirements there.
All right, thank you for that answer. We'll go on for Colin Equipto. It says, if we are already registered with Avetta, how do we convert to an aggregator account?
Right. So us configuring an aggregator account is a manual process. So you will need to reach out to me initially. I did have that in the deck. Let me just... If you can see my screen right there, it'll come through in a second. Just reach out to that email address, and then we'll start that process happening for you.
And if you forget to hit the save button or lose that contact, just reach out to your Amazon POC, and we'll figure out internally to get you a hold of Scott. If you lose that alias, but Scott's kind of our main POC in the process. But if you lose this email alias before you reach out, just reach out to your Amazon POC. We'll get it for you.
All right, Colin says thank you. K8 Gunther asks if we are both on construction and operational side, will it show up on one account or separate accounts? If we are on multiple sites, is it best to register our consistent contractors so that we can jump when Amazon asks us?
Yes, it's like a double-barreled question by the sounds of it. So you will have multiple accounts within the system. I can't demo it to you, but within the system, up in the top right on your initial, once we've configured it for you, there will be a button that says switch accounts, and you'll be able to switch between your contractor account, like your supplier account, and also your GC account. And you could have multiple, right? The construction side and operational side. So it's very easy just to switch between them there. And you can have subs connected to both of them, depending on whether they're going to be working on construction or operational sites. So especially like the electrical contractors, they might be on both sides. And if you know that you're going to have subs on site, I think in one of the other sessions they were saying, you've got to allow sort of T-minus 60 days. If you know they're coming on site, you should be getting them registered sooner rather than later. So we can work through that process of pre-qualification. You don't want them turning up to site and them not being pre-qualified.
All right, team, thank you. It doesn't look like there are any more questions in the chat. Does anybody else have any questions? K8 Gunther replied, thank you. We need to do emailer TI projects that pop up, and we are given 2 weeks notice.
Right. Yeah, as long as the site's configured, getting a contractor into the system, realistically, if it's a registration, they can register in 15 minutes, okay? When they first come in, there's like a bunch of paperwork they'll need to complete. It'll probably take them an hour or two to get through that initial paperwork stage. That will get them out of the red, right? At that point, they can come onto the site. So it shouldn't be a showstopper. Yeah.
And I'll also just add, if we're in a pinch, Scott and the Avetta team can make things happen. Escalate through your Amazon point of contact. They'll reach out to my group, the Contractors team, and we can also engage Scott. I cannot tell you the amount of times Scott has jumped in at 7 p.m. on a Friday to help support something starting on Monday because just a step in the process got missed, or a piece of paperwork, someone didn't understand it, or whatever it is. Again, ideally, we're planning these things, T-minus 30, T-minus 60 from go live, and if we're still on the construction side and you're part of that kind of initial folks getting onboarded way before there, but projects, things happen, right? It's life, it's work, it's those things happen. Just escalate to your Amazon POC, and we'll help.
And if those contractors that you're using are already in Avetta, chances are they've already done 99% of the stuff they need to do to get on Amazon's site. And if they've already worked at any other Amazon site, then they should be 100% ready to go. So, 2 weeks should be a sufficient time in most cases.
All right, guys, if I look, we are 1 minute over time, so we'll have to go ahead and end our breakout session right here. So I just want to thank everyone for attending this breakout session as well as attending the summit. Our partnership with our suppliers in safety is extremely critical. So just remember, this is a two-way street. If you run into something that's frustrating, if you have a better way of doing something, please share it with Amazon. Please share it with Avetta. We're here to partner and work with you along the way to create a better and safer work environment for all. So thank you, Scott. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.